Hey folks, we're getting ready to talk about Idaho. Idaho has 2 draw deadlines, so this is going to be a little more complicated than normal, but bear with me. Because in addition to 2 draw deadlines, they also have, for deer and elk, a general over-the-counter first come, first served deadline that was December 1st of last year. So, these videos always brought to you by goHUNT. And in a state with all these multiple deadlines like Idaho, I would suggest that you go to goHUNT, sign up for the Insider because they've got it in complete detail. They have a strategy article for the moose, goat, sheep deadline, one for the elk, deer, antelope deadline, one for the over-the-counter thing that you do back in December. So that's the place that is going to give you way more information than kind of this overview I'm giving in this video. And if you go there and sign up for the Insider, use promo code Randy and they'll give you a $50 gift card in their gear shop. So, what are these 2 deadlines I'm talking about? Right now, I know for sure the deadline for moose and goat and sheep is April 30th, 2021. So, normally this deer, elk, antelope deadline is out on the website by now, but it's not there. So, I'm going to give you what historically has been the deadline for the deer, elk, antelope. It's usually been June 1st or June 5th, somewhere in between there. Just in your mind say June 1st. If I'm going to do controlled hunts for deer, elk, antelope, June 1st. So, and I talked about how for deer and elk, there are general over-the-counter tags by region or unit. Those go on sale December 1st of every year for the upcoming year. Well, normally they don't sell out till July, August. Sometimes they haven't even sold out at all. Well, this year, back in December 1st, 2020, they sold out the first day with a few exceptions. So all that's left are the controlled hunts. Normally, Idaho has been a fallback state. Not this year. Everything is sold out. So pay attention if Idaho is of interest to you. And especially if you have already bought one of those deer or elk tags for 2021, say you bought one of the general over-the-counter tags, that means you've already bought your hunting license. And you may as well apply for either moose, goat, or sheep, or the deer, elk, antelope draw, because you already sunk the biggest cost, that non-resident license. And in Idaho, it went up this year. The non-resident hunting license cost is $195. Yeah. That's like out the door, gone. So for the first part of this, I'm going to focus on moose or goat or sheep, and then I'll flip over to deer, elk, antelope. Understand that in Idaho, you can apply for moose or goat or sheep, only one of those 3. And if you apply for one of those 3, you're not allowed to apply for the controlled hunts for deer, elk, and antelope. So you really have to decide, do I want one of the big 3, moose, goat, sheep, or do I want to apply in the later draw where I can apply for all 3 of elk, deer, and antelope? That's kind of the fork in the road right now. So I'm probably going to tell you some information that's going to direct your fork in the road over towards the elk, deer, antelope idea. And here's what it is. You got the $195 fee, the license fee. And then you've also got an application fee for moose, goat, or sheep of $45.75. You have to front all of the tag cost, which this year is $2,626. And then on top of that, you got to pay a transaction fee, which is non-refundable. So the license fee, the application fee, and the transaction/processing fee are all non-refundable. So you're going to front a total on your credit card. You got to do it online. You're going to front a total of almost $2,958, something like that, just to apply for moose or goat or sheep. And they're going to keep $331 of that. So you're really buying a raffle ticket for $331. It got way more expensive this year. So if we go over to the deer, elk, and antelope draw, you don't have to front all the money. You just pay the application fee, which is really, I think it's $5 or $10. So you got your license cost, you got your tag or application fee of $5 or $10. And then the transaction fee is a percentage of the total, so the transaction fee is way smaller. And you don't have to front all the costs for deer, elk, and antelope. So now that I've told you all that, you might say, I'll pass on moose, goat, and sheep, and I'll go over here and on June 1st, I'll see how my schedule looks, and if I'm still, without a tag, maybe I'll try the controlled hunts of deer, elk, and antelope. So really got expensive. And here's the complication also is we, as non-residents, we are allocated up to, not allocated completely, up to 10% of the tags of these controlled hunts. So we're competing with the residents for these tags. And once the non-residents hit the 10% total, no more non-resident tags for that hunt code. And so you think about, well, what does that mean? That means non-residents might not draw any of the moose tags in a certain hunt code, or any of the sheep, or any of the goat. And this year, they're reducing the moose tags. Idaho's always been known for having the best non-resident draw odds for Shiraz moose. Well, they're reducing the tags again this year, so our draw odds are going to get less and less. So, not wanting to scare you off, but I may have scared you off. I think you need to know that if you're planning on Idaho. So Idaho doesn't have a point system. In some respects, that's good because you can jump in and out depending on your budget or your schedule, and there's no penalty for taking a year off. Some people would say the flip side of that is a negative in that all of us who are repeat customers, we don't get anything. We're not shown any rewards for our loyalty. But just know that without this point system, it still has the complication of the December draw, the moose or goat or sheep draw where you can only do one of the three, and then the later draw for deer, elk, and antelope. So people often ask me, when you're breaking out my short-term, mid-term, long-term options, I say short-term is something you can draw between 0 to 4 years, 1 to 4 years. Midterm, 5 to 9 years. Long term, probably going to take you 10 or more years to draw. And people ask me, does Idaho have any of those short-term options? And they do. But you got to be on the ball. You got to be there for that December 1st elk, deer. It's by region or by unit. And there's X number of non-resident tags sold for each of those, and they're first come, first serve. So that is certainly a short-term option. And there used to be return tags where non-residents would pick them up and then they'd return them, and you'd be able to pick up some of those return tags. I don't see that happening very much anymore either. And if they get returned after a certain date, the residents can go buy them as a second buck tag or a second bull tag. So don't plan on a whole lot of that being an opportunity for you. Public land, Idaho is about 65% public land. You are not going to struggle with finding a place to hunt in Idaho. If you have a youth hunter in the house, their license fee is $95.75, so about half of what ours is. And they must have passed hunter education and turned 10 by the day they start hunting. So with what some of these fees are, I don't know that people are going to be looking to Idaho as a great opportunity state for youth hunters. Hunter education, if you're born after January 1, 1975, you got to have hunter ed. Weapons restrictions. Okay, this is a state that still has quite a few restrictions that are trying to keep traditional or short-range weapons actually short-range. And I'm on board with it. For archery, know that Idaho does not allow mechanical broadheads and does not allow lighted nocks. So think about that and know that when you come to Idaho, or if you apply for one of their controlled archery permits. Muzzleloader, Idaho probably has some of the most traditional rules related to muzzleloaders. No optic sights, only open sights, the types of powder, the types of bullet. There's a lot of restrictions on their muzzleloader hunts, so make sure you know what that is. And people often ask in every state, well, if I luck out and I draw too many tags, can I return a tag? Well, here's how it works in Idaho. Because we have to front the cost for moose or goat or sheep, they actually send you the tag. And I'll tell you in a second why that's different than deer, elk, and antelope. So they mail you the tag. You usually get your tag sometime in June. But you can turn it back if you have a certified medical statement from your doctor or you've been deployed for military service. Now, with the deer, elk, and antelope, it's a bit different. They notify you that you drew, and you have until August 1st to go online and buy the permit that you drew. So if you want to turn it back, you can almost just not pick it up by August 1st. And then if you don't, it goes into the second draw, which I think the deadline for that's August 15th. So that's one way for the deer, elk, and antelope side to just say, not really what I wanted, I'm not paying for the tag. If you do buy it after August 1st and you now have the tag, again, the refund rules are kind of like they are for moose, goat, and sheep. Certified doctor's note of some tragic illness or military deployment. So this is the question we always get, right? Is this state worth it or that state worth it? So is Idaho worth it? The answer to me says, it depends on what you have for your budget and your schedule. And the answer could be maybe. And I would say if you've already bought the 2021 license for the purposes of acquiring one of those general elk or deer tags back in December, it's a no-brainer. You should apply in Idaho. Because even if you're sitting on this general tag, you can apply for moose or goat or sheep, or you can go and apply for one of the controlled hunts of deer, elk, and antelope. So you've already sunk the $195 non-resident license cost. The answer for you, if you've done that, is yes, apply. If you're like me and you didn't pay attention on December 1st, I haven't yet bought a license. And right now I'm sitting here saying, man, I've applied for moose in Idaho for probably 20 years. But do I really want to buy a $330 raffle ticket? I might go buy raffle tickets for from a lot of the state, like Rocky Mountain Bighorn Society in Colorado, Wild Sheep Foundation in Montana and Idaho, and a bunch of these other states. They have raffles where you can buy raffle tickets for some of these. It's like, maybe I should just take my $330 and buy one of those. The odds aren't that much different in some instances. So I think for me, I've reached that tipping point for Idaho where it's no longer worth it for moose, goat, and sheep. Now, if those are just your absolute dream and budgets aren't a concern, knock yourself out. And then we get to deer, elk, and antelope. Since it's the last of all of the states to have their controlled, they call it controlled hunt draw. Most states call it limited entry. In Idaho, they call it a controlled hunt. What I'll do is I'll get to this June deadline. I'll have already heard from Arizona, Nevada, New Mexico, Colorado, Montana, Utah. I'll have heard from pretty much all of the other states. So I'll look at that and I'll say, do I have a big gap? Do I need to find am I willing to spend the money to go try find a place to hunt this year? So I'll probably make that decision at that time. And that tells you that I think Idaho is, with all these fee increases, is getting to that point where it's not worth it to me as much as it used to be. And I hate to say that because Idaho is such a cool state. It's right across the border from me. I can be in Idaho in less than 2 hours. It's got the best grouse hunting in the Rocky Mountains. But it just, we got to be reasonable, right, with what our budgets are when we're doing this. And if you got a huge budget, yes, Idaho's worth it. But if you're looking at a budget of how do I allocate this and how do I get the most return out of it, I think you're going to start to struggle with the idea of paying all this upfront money in some instances, but even the high sunk costs for the deer and elk and antelope with such low draw odds and non-residents not getting their own pool of 10%, but competing with residents for up to 10%. You mix all that together and I don't know, I could have answered it differently last year. I would have said, Idaho's in the middle of the pack as far as value. It's coming down. It's a laggard at this point. So, but anyhow, remember the deadlines. Moose or goat or sheep is April 30th. Deer, elk, and antelope, your other option. You can do all three of those if you wait and do those in the June deadline. And I'm going to say June 1st. Go to the website and look, but it's just about always June 1st, sometimes a few days later. And if you want more detail on this, I mean, I just read the strategy article that they have out at goHUNT for moose, goat, and sheep. It's the Idaho strategy article. Go sign up for their insider. They're the ones who make all these possible. They ask us to do them. They're like, Randy, make sure people know the deadlines. Make sure they know the overview. And if they want more details, if they want to get way down into the weeds, go to gohunt.com, sign up for the insider. And if you do, use promo code RANDY, and they'll give you a $50 gift card in their gear shop. So that's Idaho. A lot of changes this year. Maybe it'll work for you, maybe it won't. But if it does and you apply, good luck. Just don't miss the deadlines, April 30th, June 1st. Thanks for watching.